Welcome to the Louvre's Museum.
This was originally constructed over 800 years ago as a fortress to protect the city of Paris from invaders. The fortress was totally torn down and replaced with a palace that served as the residence of royal French monarchy. By the 19th century, this has been transformed into a museum and now a home for more than 35,000 of the most famous artworks in the world.
The origin of the name Louvre is composed of two theories. First is the word Louvre comes from the Latin word lupara, which means wolf. This is due to the presence of wolves in the area during previous centuries. The second is a misunderstanding of the Old French word lour, meaning it's a tower that refers to the Louvre's original purpose as a defensive structure. Around the year 1190, King Philip Augustus ordered a wall and a defensive fortress, the Louvre, to be constructed to protect the city of Paris from English and Norman invasion. A rendering of Louvre's museum circa in 1500s by the Wang brothers, notable because of the original defensive mechanisms, including the tower and the fortress walls. During the 13th and 14th centuries, the city of Paris grew in wealth and influence, which led to a dramatic increase in population. When the original defensive city walls of the Louvre could no longer contain the growing population, the fortress was transformed into a royal residence. The first French monarch to reside in the Louvre was Charles V, who commanded that the fortress be reconstructed into a place, though the danger of the Hundred Years' War sent subsequent monarchs to seek safety in the lower valley away from Paris. It was only after the Hundred Years' War that the Louvre became the primary residence of France's royalty. The Louvre fortress was originally constructed on the right side of the river Seine, the wealthy side of the city where merchants and tradesmen worked, making it an ideal location for a royal residence. While King Charles V ordered the transformation of the fortress into a palace during 14th century. It wasn't until King Francis I returned from captivity in Spain in the 16th century that the Louvre fortress was demolished and rebuilt as the Louvre Palace. Armed with a desire to regain control over the city of Paris, King Francis I declared the Louvre as official royal residence of the monarchy, and he used the palace to store his vast collection of artwork. During the Age of Enlightenment, middle-class citizens of France began calling for the public display of their real art collection, though it wasn't until 1789 when the beginning of the French Revolution initiated the transformation of the Louvre from a palace to a museum. In response to the growing outcry of the French middle class for access to the royal art collection, the Louvre Museum was opened in 1793, though it was closed for renovations shortly afterwards. The museum's collection grew rapidly as a result of the plundering of the Napoleon armies during the Napoleonic Wars. Many of the pieces taken from Italy and Egypt were returned after Napoleon was defeated at Waterloo in 1815, but the expansive ancient Egyptian collection that exists in the museum today is a result of this plundering. Over Over the course of the 19th century, the Royal Academy was converted into the National Academy, turning over control of the museum to the democratically elected government of France. It was during this century that 2 additional wings were added to the palace, giving it the physical structure it exhibits today. In the summer of 1939, the director of France's National Museum, Jacques Jauhard, oversaw a clandestine evacuation of more than 4,000 works of art from Louvre, including the Mona Lisa. The following year, Adolf Hitler successfully invaded Paris, and by June, the city had surrendered to Nazi control. The evacuation took several years, and most of the artwork was first moved to the Château de Chambord in the Loire Valley and later transferred from state in order to keep the collections out of the hands of the Germans. Though some of the hiding places of the collections were revealed after the war, Jacques Jauhard remained silent about the operation until his death in 1967. In the early 1980s, former French President Francis Mitterrand proposed to join Louvre, an expansion and renovation project of the Louvre Museum to better accommodate increased visitation. Create an entryway that reflected the sky and made the outside Louvre Palace walls visible even from underground. The final result, composed in 1989, is the 11,000 square foot glass pyramid with 2 spiraling staircases that funnel visitors into a vast network of underground passages that lead to different wings of former places. This renovation project also revealed the previously undiscovered original fortress walls, now displayed as part of the permanent exhibit in the museum's basement. The Louvre Museum was the home of France's monarchy. Many of the pieces currently on display were once part of the personal collections of the kings of France. The collection was augmented by Napoleon, Louis XVIII, and Charles X. Though after the Second Republic, the collection was supplied mainly by the private donations. By the start of the 1980s, it was clear that the visitor experience needed to be improved, with better displays and more amenities. Since September of 1981, the French president at that time, Francis Mitterrand, announced the launch of Grand Louvre project, which was to incorporate the museum as well as the Tuileries and Carousel gardens. The modernization and improvements for the museum were entrusted to the renowned architect Yiming Pai, who designed an entirely new entrance hall underneath the core Napoleon courtyard and added a large pyramid above. Made of glass and steel and standing over 21 meters in height, this is the largest of the now famous pyramids. Yet, this is flanked by 2 smaller pyramids along with water. Features and fountains also being added, in addition to an inverted pyramid in the Carousel de Louvre shopping center. There was a computer organization of the exhibits within the Musée de Louvre, with Pai and also being instrumental in creating new exhibition space in the Richelieu wing, storage rooms, an auditorium, and a shopping center, which we mentioned above. And this made it possible for visitors to access all 3 completely different areas of the Musée de Louvre from one main reception and entry point. Pai pyramids were inaugurated on 30th March 1989, and although many were unsure or criticized the contrast between the old and the new, it proved to be an instant success, with it becoming an icon of the Louvre and Paris known throughout the world. Pai continued to help and advise in the Grand Louvre project, and in 1993, The largest expansion in the history of the Musée du Louvre happened when the Richelieu wing was opened and glazed courtyards allowed for additional space to exhibit monumental sculptures, one being known as the Coeur Merle. Then, by 1997, the Sackler wing was inaugurated along with the refurbishment of the salle des Etats below the Court Vicente to hold 3 new galleries of antique artworks. With Aiming Pai still contributing to the project right through 2016, but unfortunately in May 2019, just shortly after the 30th anniversary of the pyramid's inauguration, Aiming Pai passed away at the age of 102. But as you can no doubt tell, the Louvre Museum is an ongoing continual project to enrich its collections and experience for the many millions of tourists that come to visit the famous museum in Paris from all over the world, which has also more than doubled since the initial launch of the Grand Louvre project. In addition, they hold temporary exhibition as well, which means whenever you are on holiday in Paris, from one year to the next, there will always be something different to experience at the Musée du Louvre.